Blessings. I hope everyone is having an amazing day. Listen, can we take a moment to speak truth to power for a moment? All right, let's do it. But before I jump into this, I want to speak to a few people. To the persons living with functional neurological disorder, I see you. I understand you. I got you. And I love you. I'm only one person, but I am committed to using my voice to do what I can for you and for me. And we gonna get through this together, whether they like it or not. All right. To the national and international researchers for FND, I am incredibly grateful for your evidence-based research that is helping myself along with countless others. Thank you so much for holding the healthcare system accountable to ethical treatment for persons with FND. Thank you for working rigorously to remove the stigmas, the inaccurate information, and the maltreatment of FND patients. I am so grateful. Thank you so much. To the healthcare professionals on the front line, the doctors, the clinicians, the practitioners, the nurses, the nurse technicians, and any other supportive staff. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your diligent care. So let's jump into this. Yesterday, I posted a 7-second video that documents an experience that I had at Wake Med Hospital in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the comment section just was overwhelming. I was looking at the comments and I was very intrigued, like the way some of you responded, your lack of understanding, your intellect or the lack thereof, the incompetence, the assumptions, your thought processes, your mentalities, your mythologies. Like, y'all really need to be studied. Like, are y'all all right? And to the people suggesting that, a patient raising concerns about an unethical practice needs professional help, baby, you the one that need help. It's all right. We're going to get you that today, and maybe after today's video, you will seek professional help so that you can be better, okay? I'm just like, I was sitting in bed last night looking at these comments, and I got time. I got time. I got time for justice. I got time to educate you. I got time. I got time to stand up for myself. I got time to stand up for people that can't stand up for themselves. I got time. Yes, I do. But I said, you know what? Some of y'all were being really nasty in these comments. You were being hateful. You were just being very egregious. And a lot of you bought in race into the equation, gender issues, issues that didn't even have anything to do with what I originally stated. But I'm glad y'all brought that up because there were elements of racism present in my care there. There were a lot of contributing factors to my care. There was retaliation and many other things I encountered insurmountable, unethical, and unlawful treatment at Wake Med Raleigh. But the purpose of my initial video was just to shed light to what people with FND deal with, some of the experiences that we encounter, and to provide resources which I captioned in the original caption. A lot of people do not know how to deal with the stigmas and the mistreatments that they experience, and it overwhelms them and exacerbates their condition. A lot of people at FND don't know how to balance being a patient, being an advocate, being a self-resource, knowing how to research laws to help you or challenge a system that was quite naturally not meant to serve you or understand you, especially if you look like me, if you get my drift. So This video documents a running sink in my room, and the water is overflowing, to the point that it floods the room. And another thing that was made quite clear to me is how inadequate our education system is, because I specifically stated in my caption that this was done by nursing staff. And a lot of the nurses just jumped in my comments being very reckless, making accusations and assumptions. First off, I don't say or post anything publicly or privately that I am unable to prove. I am very resilient. I am very calculated, and I am very thorough. Now, while I do understand and I am sensitive to the fact that there are many hospitals that have patient and nurse ratio issues that are not fair, they're understaffed, and all of these things like that, I understand that. I am sensitive to that, and I am sorry that that is your experience. However, that was not something that was being addressed in my video. I don't even know why some of you jumped in my comments talking about that. That had nothing to do with what I was raising awareness to in my video. I will say the hospitals are very understaffed. They are. And the nurses do the best they can. And we appreciate that. However, doing the best you can should never result in your best being unethical or unlawful. End of the story, point, period, blank. If your care at any point turns in something unethical or unlawful, it's not okay. A lot of y'all jumped in my comments, talking about I don't know anything about hospital, or I've never worked there, and I don't like. Let's normalize something, before we start saying things, before we start making assumptions and accusations. Let's be exacting. Okay, let's know what we're talking about. I have been a nurse technician before. I worked in the hospital. I've worked on the clinical side, and I've worked on the administrative side. I got plenty of experience, and never in any of my days have I fled a patient's room. I have not done that. Never have I allowed a patient to be exposed to unethical or unlawful treatment. I have not done that. If you are not able to be attentive in your care to a patient, then you really need to begin to reassess some things. Now, I understand now, them phones be ringing, when you go in a patient's room, that phone or that pager, whatever your hospital used, it's going to ring. But it's at that point that you have to allow critical thinking to come into play, and you have to allow priority to come into play. If I am in a patient's room and I'm about to give them a bath or warm water for them to get a bath, and I do not feel that I'm going to be able to be there for the entire time or to be attentive, my first thought is going to be to turn the water off. I'm going to turn the water off because in my mind, common sense says, hey, if I leave this water running, there's some type of accident or hazard that's going to occur. Turn it off. Point blank, period. Now, I just want to bring context to what a lot of you were saying. So a lot of you all were talking about emergencies and I don't have grace and, other patients needing care. Let me go ahead and clarify this. There were no codes, code blue, code red, orange, purple. There was no codes at all. There were no additional emergencies. That water was left running by a nurse technician. She left the water on. She said she was coming right back. She did not come back. I activated my call bell. My call bell was ignored for an hour. I called the hospital on my cell phone and got in contact with administration. They sent a clinical administrator up to the floor. The nurse and the nurse technician was found seated at the nurse's station. So all this commentary about all this other irrelevant stuff about, other people needing help, emergencies, and all this other kind of stuff, that was not a factor in my situation. They were at the nurse's station. They weren't doing anything. So That brings me to my next point. There are many issues again, but y'all can't be so reckless when you do not understand the full context. I am a patient that had a functional stroke and functional dissociative seizures that was precipitated by a physical assault. If I could get up, I would have gotten up. I encountered paralysis with my functional stroke. So I can't get up. I can't move. I mean, that's common sense. If I could get up and turn the water off, I would just turn it off. I wasn't able to. And I did see some of the comments inquiring about, what was done. So, as I said before, I encountered many issues at this hospital, and my legal team worked with me very diligently. I was able to get transferred to a F&D competent hospital. I was transferred to John Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland, in which I have been receiving immaculate care, much better experience as opposed to Wake Med. But I just wanted to jump on to give some context and bring some clarification to the video from yesterday. I hope this helps you all understand the scenario a little better. But I sincerely hope that the ones of you that are spreading hate, um, that are just being nasty, I hope y'all find y'all something better to do. A lot of people really desired that this would discourage me, or that this would cause me to be silent. But you obviously do not know me. I'm very resilient. I am very strong. And I'm going to continue to speak. I'm going to continue to share experiences. I'm going to continue to share my research and the research that I found from other medical researchers to bring awareness to FND. And not only FND, the healthcare system in general is very undereducated. That of North Carolina and the United States as a whole. And there's evidence-based research that shows and proves that. And we need to begin to bring these things into light and hold people accountable. You should not be patient shaming someone for voicing a concern about something that is unethical and unlawful. There are patient rights. Every hospital has a patient bill of rights. There are federal and state laws for healthcare institutions and for the patients that it serves. I saw many comments just saying reckless and inaccurate things about interventions. Patients have both the legal right and the patient right to use medical interventions of their choice. Everything is not medicine, and I'm not a patient that calls my nurses, every 15, 20, 30 minutes for pain medicine. I choose to use other interventions, which one of them is music. My music was not loud. It was not disrupting anybody. It wasn't disrupting any other patients. It wasn't disrupting staff. As a matter of fact, the staff knew when they come in my room that they were going to hear some type of prayer, or they were going to hear some type of sermon, or some music was going to be playing. That was my chosen intervention. That's what I do to keep myself grounded, to keep myself calm. So that was not an issue. My music was not disturbing anyone. It is also a legal entitlement that no one has the permission to touch your belongings unless you give them consent to do that. Patients have rights. There are laws in place for a reason. So there are other entities in place to make sure that these rights are not violated. The Joint Commission, the Medical Board, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. Any hospital that is federally funded is required to abide by the governances set by CMS. They have to. All of this jazz about corporate, private, public. If they receive funds, federal funds, they have to comply, period. And if they violate any of those governances, any of those rights or entitlements, you as a patient have the right to speak up and submit a grievance. So at the end of the day, let's be a little more understanding. Let's be more attentive in our care. And let's just do right. If you feel short, it's okay. Mistakes happen. I never said mistakes don't happen. But your mistakes or your care should never turn into something that is unethical or unlawful. Peace and love to everybody. I hope you all have an amazing day. Be well.